Hi, and welcome back to Midwest Running. I'm gonna spend some time today kind of just running down just a complete rundown of what is currently available from the Adidas Adizero lineup. So remember, these are their performance shoes. I'm not going to be touching base on kind of the Ultra Boost, the Supernovas, those kinds of shoes at this point in time. I'm not going to touch the Terex shoes. This is really just going to be looking at their performance lineup and the fact that, frankly, you can get an entire rotation from the performance lineup, from the Adizero lineup here, and some of them are actually pretty good bargains compared to even some of their closest competitors. So I'll just kind of show you how to build up a little bit of a Adizero lineup just for pretty much all of your training and racing needs. Little disclosure, these are all shoes that I've purchased with my own money. There's no incentive from Adidas to make this video, make this content. I just really frankly find that their shoes work well for my gait mechanics, so I do have a fair number of their shoes. So to kind of start off here, like at the bottom of the lineup, so to speak, at the lowest end, quote, is the Adizero SL2. So this is kind of your daily trainer. In fact, this is really solid workhorse. It is not the fanciest shoe by any means. The upper is a bit more built up. It's got a lot of really good cushioning in the heel. It's got a nicely padded tongue. The mesh is not as breathable as some of the other shoes, but it's definitely built to be a little bit more durable. It's going to last a lot longer. It's using just the standard light strike foam on the for your outsole with as like a carrier. But then what really makes it special is inside of this kind of bathtub of the light strike foam, it has Light Strike Pro, and that runs the entire length of the shoe. If you kind of look underneath, they have little cutouts that kind of go throughout that show you just, hey, it's pretty much everywhere through the shoe. And so what you get with this shoe is also just very solid rubber coverage. That rubber goes all the way down from toe all the way to heel. It's not the Continental rubber that everyone looks forward to with Adidas, but again, that's not a deal breaker by any means. In fact, as we kind of move along, you'll see that in their newer models and their newest models, they're moving away from that Continental rubber as I think that they're finding there's better materials out there that are lighter and still provide just a profound amount of grip, and we'll get into that as we go. So again, this is kind of your daily trainer. It comes at $130, so that's undercutting a lot of your other brands out there. That's undercutting the Pegasus. In fact, this is better than the Pegasus. I'm not going to lie. I don't hate the Pegasus. I think that the Pegasus 41 is a very good neutral shoe. It's a shoe that I would recommend beginners who are just coming into the sport. Check that shoe out. Check out, the classic, like the Brooks Ghost is one, the Hoka Clifton. And then this is a shoe I wouldn't sleep on, though. The SL2, I think, is a shoe that I would recommend comfortably for a lot of people. And I think you'll get a lot of miles, a lot of enjoyment out of this shoe. I think that, you can't go wrong with this as your daily trainer. Now, there are two other shoes within the kind of the Adizero lineup that I think could also be considered more in the daily trainer, but I don't think that they fit the bill as solidly as this one. So the first one I think of is over here. That's the Evo SL. So the Evo SL, similar language to SL, super light is what I think of, but really to me that's an indication that it's designed to be more of their trainer-ish kind of shoe. So this shoe here, primary difference is instead of having the carrier of Light Strike with the Light Strike Pro running the length, the entire shoe is Light Strike Pro. You have a thicker stack of it, and then on the outsole here you have Continental rubber for the entire length of the shoe for the most part. I believe this is Continental in the back here, but the upper is a little bit more minimal than on the Evo SL. It's not going to be as durable, but all in all, it's a very comfortable shoe. It's a very fast shoe. I tend to like it more for tempo-ish kind of work as opposed to daily trainer, but there's no reason you couldn't have this as a daily trainer in your lineup. I think that this is just an excellent value proposition as well at $150. So between the SL2 and the Evo SL, depending on what your use scenario is, if you're okay with spending a little bit more for a slightly less durable shoe, I would recommend this, just because you're going to get a lot more, I think you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of the shoe. But if you want something that's going to last you a long, long time, you can't go wrong, I think, with the SL2. I don't think you're losing that much, with that. And the other shoe that I think can kind of pull daily trainer is the Boston 13. Now, I'm being a little bit specific here that this is a shoe I wouldn't recommend for everybody as a daily trainer. Where I would recommend this is somebody who is more high mileage, somebody who's going into a marathon training block, somebody who does half marathons on the regular. This is an excellent, excellent shoe for you. It'll last a long time. Now this is where you start seeing some of the newer materials being used. So you have this little patch of Continental rubber, and then the rest of it is light traction, which is actually a polyurethane material, which is lighter, but it still provides excellent, excellent grip. In fact, I actually feel that the grip might even be better than the Continental that was on the Pro 3, for example. This upper, again, very breathable, a very breathable mesh. Very comfortable shoe. I have a review on it posted, so you can get an idea of, what I really think, the use case for the shoe is. But again, I think it can be a daily trainer, it can be a long run shoe. Again, I think this is better for more of the high mileage runners. I wouldn't recommend this for somebody at more of an entry level. I wouldn't recommend this for somebody who's, just doing 5, even 10K. I would recommend this more for kind of consistent half marathon runners. Very good shoe for that type of running. So then kind of bridging the gap, it gets a little bit confusing because the next 4 I want to talk about are all kind of more really like racing oriented, but it's hard to really differentiate a couple of them from being, up-tempo trainers to racers in particular. And so the 2 shoes that I really want to kind of almost compare side by side are the Takumi Sen 10 in this case, and then the Adios 9. I think, overall the Takumi Sen 10 is it's a lower profile, more like a racing flat. This is your 5K, 10K kind of racer here. Light Strike Pro throughout the length of the shoe. Good chunk of Continental rubber underneath it. Very nice lateral support all the way through the length of it. And then it also has the carbon fiber rods in there. So what I get from this shoe is this is a shoe that really, once you kind of put it on, it's fast. This is just a really fast shoe. It is a bit more substantial compared to the Adios 9. The Adios 9 here has just the Light Strike Pro, and this is the new formulation of Light Strike Pro that you got on the Adios Pro 4. This shoe here has, personally, I think a better fit. I find that this one here kind of suffers from the same issues that you would have like on the Boston 12, the Pro 3. It's a little bit hard to get a good, comfortable, solid lockdown with it. But overall, it's not uncomfortable by any means, but definitely a shoe that, is really targeted for short, fast days, tempo workouts, maybe, 5K, 10K race. Whereas the Adios 9, I find I use this shoe a lot for track workouts. It does not have any stabilizing elements, doesn't have any rods or plates or anything. It's just the Light Strike Pro foam. On the outsole here, you just have the small bit of Continental, and again, with the rest of the entire outsole being that light traction CPU. Very, very good grip. It's going to last a long time. This is a shoe that I currently, my mile PR set in this shoe here. Whereas I have actually not raced in the Takumi Sen myself. I've used it for kind of your fartlek workouts, kind of some of your short distance kind of things like that. I find that this is a good use for a good use case for this shoe specifically. Whereas this guy here I find is even better for like track days or if I'm doing short distance racing. I've used it for 5K. I've used it for a racing mile. So those are kind of the 2 lower stack kind of racing shoes that they have. Now, Moving on, the marathon racer, half marathon racer here. So this is the Pro 4. Fantastic shoe. A lot of rebound in this foam. This Light Strike formulation here, this new Light Strike Pro formulation they're using, just gives you a lot of compression and rebound and springiness. It just rolls you forward and it pushes you, just keep pushing, going faster. I find that like this is a really good shoe for more of like a mid-foot, forefoot striker. If you're a bit of a heel striker, it's not bad. It has a decent amount, but the problem is it kind of compresses here a little bit and squeezes together, as you can see. So you get a little bit of spread here, and just how soft this foam is. It really doesn't do as well if you're more of that heel striker, but if you're in that midfoot to forefoot, you get a lot of support and you can really just take most advantage of the design of this shoe. So this is your marathon racer, this is your even your half marathon racer. Again, a very comfortable shoe. It's got a much better lockdown. This light lock idea that they have on this shoe and the Adios 9, I think, are both fantastic. And just kind of like this strand, I don't know if you can see it here, it's kind of this yellowish material that kind of runs along the sides here up to the laces, and then on the side here up to the laces, and then kind of up here, and it just really kind of just compresses together to give you just a really good solid lockdown. Definitely a shoe I would recommend for more of a midfoot, forefoot striker if you're looking for a race day shoe for your big days, for your marathon, for your half marathon. This would be my go-to. Now the other one here is the Prime X2 Strung. This shoe is just, it's weird, it's insane. It's like, you know, it's a illegal shoe. It's it's a 50 millimeter stack height, so you know it's too tall to be utilized in a racing situation. It also has 2 carbon fiber plates in it. It's kind of bottom heavy. It's not a bad shoe. Like, it sounds like I'm complaining about it. I actually have a lot of good miles on this shoe. I find that it's a great shoe for longer tempo efforts. The biggest thing is I find that I still get some fatigue just because the weight is a little bit bottom heavy, so I get a little bit of fatigue in my legs, and I feel my legs get a little bit heavier as I go along, especially when I compare it to like the Pro 4 or any of that stuff. So I wouldn't want to use this. You know, I'm not fighting for podiums and any of the events where it matters the height, but the stack height on this is technically illegal, so you got to be aware of that. But even if it weren't, I wouldn't be racing in this shoe personally. I feel it's just a bit too heavy, a bit too bottom, a bit too much work for me. The upper is awesome. This strung upper is really very unique. It's kind of like this 3D printed string structure things. Reasonably breathable. It doesn't look like it would be, but it is. The tongue across the middle, or the tongue area, is more just like a knit material, just kind of holding it all together. The main difference for this shoe compared to the others, I did have a little trouble with lockdown and actually have to use a runner's loop on this one as opposed to any of the other shoes, which I don't. And I think that one's due to the sizing. I have this one here in a size 11. I probably would have gone down a half size on it. So we'll see what happens with if they're going to do like an X3. I assume they're going to do a Prime X3. Everyone's got their big, huge, maximum stack kind of shoes. I think they're going to do something like that as well. I think this is also a very interesting test platform for certain materials. So one of the things that they did with this shoe is, it's probably, you can see it on either side here, but you have layer of Light Strike Pro, layer of Light Strike Pro. You have 2 carbon plates that kind of split the difference here. And in the middle, you have this other layer. It's not the same foam. It's something different. I'm not entirely sure what foam it is, but that I think is one of the magical parts of the shoe, because you get the 2 plates that kind of come together and like almost like a leaf spring, just kind of compress that, and let's see if I can show it, kind of compress that. And I think that really gives a lot of the extra rebound and maybe that a little bit more of the advantage that you get with this shoe, and it's really noticeable underfoot. Again, not entirely sure whether they're going to do a new version of it, and if they do, if they're going to go as just overbuilt and crazy as this. But again, I think this could be a fun test platform for just technology for them, to see what works, what doesn't, and see what limits they can push. So this shoe here, again, it's not a bad shoe by any means. It's just very, very unique, and it's a hard shoe for me to recommend for most people just because, one, the cost, it is very expensive. It's a $300 shoe. Do I feel like I'm getting $300 worth of this shoe? And maybe, but again, I don't think that, in this case, you're paying, I think, for the technology that's being used to make this shoe. The strung uppers are not the same as, some of the more mass-produced meshes and textiles and stuff. The dual carbon plates, the foams, everything else. So I don't think it's a, unreasonable cost, but it is definitely a high cost for a shoe like this, especially one that I don't find has as much of a use case as some of the others in the lineup. Again, kind of running down where I'd use this. Again, maybe kind of longer tempo-ish efforts. It's fun for that. It is just a fun shoe to just put on even on an easy day. I've worn it for recovery even. That was a little bit too much if you ask me, but at the same time it was fun. But all things equal, I think this is the one shoe that I would, of the current lineup that kind of went over here, this is the one shoe I would probably not go out of my way to recommend as much. But again, if you're really looking to round out your lineup, you can't go wrong with it. It's just know what you're getting into with it. So I hope that by going through just that lineup here, just kind of breaking down your daily trainer, your mass, your bulk mile daily trainer is going to be your SL2. For more of a faster shoe, like tempo, I would look at the Evo SL. I would look at the Takumi Sen or the Adios 9. I would even consider the Boston 13. The Boston 13 itself, I think it's a little bit more of a long run shoe, but you can definitely go fast with it. It has the plates in there, the rods in there. It has a good combination of foams. For your race day, that's where you're going to look at your Takumi Sen. You're going to look at even the Adios 9, like I mentioned. That's the Adios Pro 4. And then kind of for the nebulous, I want a fun shoe, really show off at, at your run club kind of thing. That's where I think the Prime X2 kind of comes in a little bit more. I don't find that that's a shoe that I'm going out of my way to recommend to most people, to be honest. But overall, I think, the build quality of these shoes is excellent. The durability has been very, very good. The Continental rubber is one of the grippiest things you're going to be using. The light traction, which is the new material that they're using on a lot of their shoes, I have not noticed any decrease in performance. And in fact, I find that it's a little bit more flexible. It's a little bit more, it's definitely lighter weight. I find that the grip on it is just as good as the Continental rubber. Might even be a little bit better because they're doing a little bit more of, they're actually putting a little bit more of a pattern into it, so you can get a little bit of a bite, and it's not just the rubber doing like the flat slab of rubber that's just having to grab in. So I think you're actually getting a little bit more grip with it without sacrificing the durability, without sacrificing weight. I think that where they're moving currently, the newest formulation of Light Strike Pro is a very it's a very different foam from the previous version. So if you had say the Adios Pro 3 or even the Evo SL, the new version of Light Strike Pro, it is definitely springier, it's bouncier, it has a lot more inherent instability to it, which I think is going to favor certain running styles, I think, over others. I think the Adios Pro 3 was a great, more quote-unquote democratic kind of shoe in that it worked well for a lot of different types of runners. For the Adios Pro 4, I'm not going to recommend that for my heel strikers, people with stability issues. Definitely not going to be the most comfortable for you guys. But otherwise, the SL2, probably the best deal in all of running, if you ask me. The Evo SL, I think, is a very versatile shoe. The Boston 13, also very versatile. Check out my comparison video between those to see what my thoughts are there. And honestly, hope you're having a great, great season here. If you're building up for something, good luck with whatever, with whatever your racing is. If you're just stumbling across this video because, hey, it's a comparison or a rundown of the shoes from these guys, I hope this helps you. Maybe gives you a little bit of some food for thought. Feel free to leave comments, questions, like and subscribe, and I hope you're staying safe. Thank you.